Chelsea, again, have a new manager, at least until the end of the season, which means it's another opportunity for Liv to talk about Chelsea, which is her chosen specialist subject. How happy are you, judging from that smile on your face?
Look at her face.
That Frank is back.
Look at her face.
This is how, genuinely, this is how I sat when this moment happened. I was sat front row of this press conference yesterday as he walked in, and it was almost like he was trying, when he walked in the door, to hide the smile, but as soon as he got in there, the smile was just so big, and he looked at everyone, and obviously everyone was like, welcome, Frank, and it's a lot of familiar faces that he would have seen when he was at the club a couple of years ago, and I can't even...
I'll just stop you. Are you on first name terms?
Do you call him Frankie?
I call him Frank. I was like, hi,
What
Frank.
does he call you, though? That's what I want to know.
Hey, Livy. Hey, Livy.
No,
it
was just a moment. I just felt really lucky to have been there, because I did a lot of Frank Lampard's press conferences when he was last at the club, but they were all on Zoom. So, you know, to be there and to be there when he did his first one back at the club, and it was such a surprise. I think he got asked if it was a surprise, but personally, I think this is really good, and it works out well for both the club and Frank Lampard.
Well, you think they're doing him a favour, or you think he's doing them a favour?
No, I think it works both ways. I think with the Graham Potter decision going the way it did, the club now, the board can't afford to make another decision like that. So they need to think really long and hard about who the next Chelsea manager is. There's been a couple of names floated about, but they didn't want to make a rash decision. Now, Bruno was the interim. He came in, but it was quite clear he was part of Graham Potter's backroom staff and didn't want the job on a full-time or an interim basis for the rest of the season. Now, the atmosphere around Stamford Bridge was getting bad. It really, really was. So the board have bought in Frank Lampard.
Which implies that it was good at one point. Sorry, continue.
The first part of Graham Potter's reign was okay. Stop it. No, but Frank Lampard, I think, has brought back something that not many managers could, and that is the morale and the feeling of the Chelsea fans now. Everyone's just so united, and the atmosphere is already better at Chelsea.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? What do you think Lampard needs to do to keep the job?
He got asked if, you know, there was any end date for his role as interim, and he said no, but I think he knows the basis on you know, why he's been given the job. I think the only way Frank Lampard probably keeps his job at the end of the season is if Chelsea win the Champions League. And that is a very, very long shot when you know already their run to the final. You need to beat Real Madrid, you need to beat one of City or Bayern. But if he does win the Champions League, then what do the owners do? I think that's a really interesting question, because they might have appointed someone before that.
Yeah. I mean, Liv, I'm looking at the history of the Premier League and the great teams, the great sides, and I can't think of one that has had 4 managers in a season. Teams that have struggled at the wrong end of the table, yes, but not teams that are regarded as the
4
best
managers
and the
in one
biggest
season is crazy.
I know. I mean, N'Golo Kante obviously hasn't been fit for a lot of the season. His last 4 games, or if he plays against Wolves, will be under 4 different Chelsea managers. Thomas Tuchel, Graham Potter, Bruno, and then Frank Lampard, which is absolutely mind-blowing. But like I said, I think it's a good thing for Frank Lampard. It puts him to the forefront of people's minds. It can't really get much worse at Chelsea than what it has been. So this is a chance for him. If he can get this team going and win a couple of games, and it does wonders for his managerial career. If there was jobs to come up in the summer for Chelsea, we needed something to just revitalise the team. And I think Frank Lampard could do that.
Talking about revitalising, there'll be one player that would definitely clap in his hands when he saw that and heard that Frank Lampard was coming back. He's been in and out of the side, struggled for a bit of form this season, it's fair to say. Mason Mount will be delighted, won't he? He
absolutely will. Their relationship was clear to see. I know they both spoke about it when Frank Lampard was last here. They have a really good relationship. I think they'd already spoken prior to Frank Lampard's press conference, and that'll be a player that I will be very surprised if he's not in the starting 11, especially against Wolves tomorrow. But for the remaining games of the season, and under Frank Lampard, Mason Mount was absolutely brilliant. So Chelsea fans are going to be hoping that he can refine that brilliant form under him a couple of years ago now for the rest of the season. And hopefully that will maybe help sort out the future at this club as well.